All right, y'all. Good Saturday morning to everyone out there in social media world.
Yeah.
I wanted to do a quick video. We're going to read along of this here article. We got some really nice propaganda going on here, so I thought it was very interesting. And it just my point in all of this is once you realize the manipulation that's going on, you have to break free of the paradigm, this right left paradigm and the right ink and the ultra left lib and all this stuff. It's an enormous paradigm, and once you realize all of the manipulation and all of the mind control things and all of the deep state stuff and all the agencies and how they are completely isolated from the democratic process. Once you can't come to the realization that of all the fabrication and then stay within inside the right and left paradigm. Good morning from Alabama. Good to have you on. Good to have you on. So let me get into the article here. And that's what you see over and over again. You see these different people that are realizing the deep state manipulation and the quote unquote elites. Like for example, I'll give you a good example.
Hmm.
Glenn Beck had Whitney Webb on, and it's really neat seeing two things I want to point out here. One, everybody wants to demonize Whitney Webb for going on Glenn Beck, and then obviously saying, "Oh, you're obviously COINTELPRO because you went on Glenn Beck." Which isn't the case. I mean, for example, Glenn Beck also had on Vadi Bakum, and I appreciate Vadi Bakum mostly for most of what he has to say. And I don't agree with him on everything, but I don't agree with anybody on everything. But then immediately following having Whitney Webb on, because Glenn's always talking about the elites, the elites, the elites, he then has Netanyahu on
Whoa.
to talk about anti-Semitism, and I mean that is a joke. You supposedly hammer on the elites, and then you invite one on your show to help the spin. That's insane.
Hmm.
And that's why I can appreciate some of the people that Beck has on, but I completely don't appreciate him at all because he is absolutely he's controlled in his own mind at a minimum, and that's unfortunate. But let's share the article here.
So yesterday we were talking about FTX
Yeah, so yesterday we were
and
talking about uh,
Sam Bankman.
Sam Bankman-Fried
Yeah.
and the Talmud teachers that are encrusted in all of this controversial. And speaking of Talmud teachers, you got Netanyahu, so there you go. So it's those people that you can't speak of. Um, and so
Hmm.
that's why we're going to share
Gotta
the.
go Chrome tab.
Oh, what did I do? I clicked the wrong thing. Okay, there we
Yep,
go.
there
Chrome
you
tab.
go.
All right, y'all, here is the article. So this is just brought to you by Forbes. This was posted yesterday. And you always have to have the narrative crafted before you roll out the propaganda.
Of course.
But if you know anything about this topic at all, and there's a lot of crypto people that are super crypto, and I'm not, and this is largely part of the reason of a lot of this um, crypto stuff has been crafted from the beginning by the deep state, and there's even Bitcoin stuff with the founder there and the connection. So there's
Hmm.
just a lot of this stuff is being crafted. This whole FTX collapse was completely crafted, and this is exclusively identical to the housing crisis, mortgage-backed securities,
Hmm.
and it's just another synthetic, ephemeral, um, synthetic derivative of something that doesn't exist, right?
Hmm.
That's why we talk about dirt coin. That's why we talk about food 401k. That's why we talk about infrastructure. That's why we talk about parallel economy. That's why we talk about parallel community.
Yeah.
Apparently, there's going to be some type of parallel governance, for lack of a better word. But that's that the
Hmm.
solutions to all of these problems are, if the mainstream is going to continue to be controlled, the solution is going to be localized infrastructure, parallel local community. The solution, the solution to the larger control construct is obviously parallel. So, uh, Almedia Research CEO Carolyn Ellison is a math whiz.
Hmm.
Okay, this story, it's always the same story. It's like Bill Gates was this wizard of a, you know, computer programmer,
Yeah.
which he didn't. He stole his software, right? And he got encrusted by the deep state into
Mm.
Microsoft, and then he became a billionaire. And this is the same thing over again. And now they conveniently need to throw
Yep.
these trolls to the, um, they need to sacrifice these trolls on the altar of public opinion. But these are the same. It's the same processes, right? Okay, they find these smart kids that may or may not be in college. They draft them in college. They're drafted by the D state. They're mind controlled and all these different things. And then the narrative is crafted. Almedia Research CEO Caroline Ellison is a math whiz who loves Harry Potter, fringe political philosophy, and taking big risks. She is also one of the supporting and see the other thing that's being you got to demonize capitalism.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, she was too risky.
Mm.
It's always the same thing. And taking big risks, she is also one of the supporting players in the Sam Bankman-Fried's FTX catastrophe. In 2021, Caroline Ellison, the CEO of Alameda Research, that's like the parent company. Alameda is the parent company of FTX that had their own coin or token, for lack of a better word, that made the exchange to
Hmm.
make the financial arm of FTX possible, and it also allowed for all the chicanery of you release these tokens and then you exchange them, and it's completely synthetic. It's creating it out of thin air. It's also very interesting how that Binance went to pull their credits out, which is what started the cascade. And basically, you only have two major exchanges.
Hmm.
Lots of interesting stuff. Um, but Almeida Research, who oversaw crypto traders allegedly playing roulette with billions of FTX's customer funds, was asked if she had any advice for her younger self. Her reply was earnest and brief. I would tell her to be less risk averse and believe in herself more, she wrote in a previously unpublished application for Forbes 30 under 30 list. And what I want to encourage everybody is, if you remember the uh, credit default swaps of the mortgage crisis, right? That $14 trillion market that led to the mortgage crisis in 2008. It was shut down for about a month. It continues to go on today. It's a $14 trillion market, and they continue to do it. And there was all this legislation and all these different things and regulation, right? And the beat goes on, the stuff goes on, the Ponzi scheme goes on, the synthetic nonsense goes on,
Hmm.
right? And that was what we need. And it always comes down to the regulation. Always comes down to stealing our money, making it harder and harder for us to transact as humanity, right? And they, them, and those, and up the pyramid, and the billionaires, they get to do whatever they want. They get to have their NGOs. Jeff Bezos is going to transfer all of his money into some nonprofit charity, right? So that he can triple his fortune and continue to do what he does, unassaulted by the rising tax rates that's foisted on us by all the reds and the blues and all their IRS agents and all that stuff. These guys continue to do these guys go unmolested towards their nonsense. A year later, that advice reads as a stunningly ironic epitaph for one of the biggest financial catastrophes in recent memories. And these huge financial catastrophes are always set up.
Mm.
I mean, this thing was set up, rolled out, grew in less than 2 years, and this is why technology is bad. This is why blockchain's bad. This is why we need more regulation on cryptocurrencies. And this is why everybody needs to be regulated. Everybody needs to be tracked and traced. These kids should have been tracked and traced, and they shouldn't be allowed to do all this stuff. And the reality is that the free market is so heavily regulated and manipulated that this stuff is allowed to take place. It's propagandized. The propaganda is put out there. And then you have all the signature reduction stuff going on in the background to make all this stuff work. Last week, FTX, once the second largest crypto exchange in the world, collapsed into a $32 billion pile of risky bets and worthless tokens that the former Enron attorney who was taking over FTX said is the biggest failure of corporate controls. And we all know about Enron, and we all know that that was a setup, and we all know that all of the Enron documents just so happened magically got incinerated on 9/11 with everything, with just hundreds of other coincidental destruction of damning evidence on 9/11 in 3 buildings, one that wasn't struck by a plane. Okay. And Alameda, the company Ellison Helms was one of its architects. It was Alameda's speculative investments that were allegedly made by using FTX customer deposits, taking billions without users' knowledge. And it was Alameda that reportedly covered up the scheme because the hedge fund ensured the assets of its trading on FTX steered clear of its own balance sheet. What about the Fed's balance sheet? What about all the off-balance sheet that the Fed has? What about the Federal Reserve that we can't even see the balance sheet? Okay, what about the federal government and the off-balance sheet that Catherine Austin Fitts talked about in the 90s, the trillions of dollars that were missing? What about what about the trillions that were missing on 9/10/2001, right? Once again, those records were in the Pentagon that supposedly got hit by an impossible airplane that couldn't have done the maneuvers to even hit the building, besides the fact that there was no debris and there was no signs from the 87,000 security cameras that ensconced the entire neighborhood.
Yeah, they just magically weren't recording.
Yeah, it's all just magical, and it's all redacted for national security purposes. And this is all going to be redacted for national security purposes. There's going to be an investigation, and there's going to be alphabet agencies that are involved, and we can't tell you because we knew about it. They always know about it, and they're involved, but due to national security, we can't tell you. But at the same time, it still damages the everyday Joe. Still gets damaged and stolen from.
That's their plan.
FTS rank and file who reportedly were convinced to pour their life savings into the platform among them. The filings also showed that Alameda Research handed out 3 personal loans to FTX executives, with Bankman-Fried borrowing $1 billion. And while FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried owned 90% of the trading firm, it was Caroline Ellison at Alameda's helm when both companies collapsed.
Interesting.
There is little publicly available information about Ellison, but conversations with 8 people who knew her and a previously unpublished interview she gave to Forbes last October that they purposely sandbagged until it was needed, like right now, paint a rough picture of a quiet math nerd who climbed the crypto hierarchy until it all went bust. And see how they're completely deflecting over Sam Bankman-Fried here. Yeah. Over the course of a few years, Ellison's wholehearted embrace of Bankman-Fried's new jazz financial hijinks pitched her into an ever-widening crypto gyre of bullpoop, deceit, and desperation. She did not respond to multiple comments requests for this story. There are a lot of people who are very smart but aren't good necessarily at the messy world of trading, especially crypto. Before she found herself at the center of crypto's most massive meltdown, Carolyn Ellison was a star student. She was a Harry Potter head. She was a camp counselor. She was a writer of live action role playing scenes. She is a LARP, y'all. She is a LARP. Ruth Ackerman, a math professor who taught Ellison at Stanford 10 years ago. Once again, here's Stanford again. So Sam Bankman-Fried, both his parents were professors at Stanford.
Interesting.
Ellison went to Stanford.
No way.
You can look at all the people that were recruited by the alphabets from Stanford, in Stanford. A large portion of Silicon Valley, they all have Stanford ties. Okay. She called her former student bright, focused, and very mathy. A challenge, she said, to reconcile with Ellison, becoming wrapped up in one of the largest alleged frauds of the past decade. First I heard of the current controversy was when people started contacting me on LinkedIn, telling me to withdraw my endorsement of her skill as a computer scientist, Ackerman told Forbes. Now, as the life savings obliterating carnage of FTX collapse comes into clearer focus in multiple U.S. agencies, including the Securities and Exchange Commission and the Department of Justice, have announced investigations. All of these incompetent agencies that are supposed to at least monitor this stuff, it explodes, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, now we need to investigate. We had no clue. We didn't know. This enormously gigantic multi-billion-dollar exchange, and we had no clue that there was any chicanery. It literally appeared out of nowhere, and then all of a sudden had hundreds of billions of dollars, but they want PayPal to notify them when you exchange more than $600.
Whoa.
More than $600. So
Wait,
the average guy needs to be flagged if he does a transaction over $600, but this FTX fabricated fraud can accumulate hundreds of billions unmolested. Nobody knows. Oh, we didn't know. And it's rings of power, y'all. It's all plausible deniability. Rings inside rings inside rings. I mean,
We're not talking about the movie.
No. Being comfortable with risks is very important, Ellison said on a podcast in May. There are a lot of people who are very smart but aren't good necessarily at the messy world of trading, especially crypto.
They just said it again.
Okay. Their whole goal was to maximize wealth. An early Alameda employee said they never lived in a world where they weren't risking a lot. And they got to keep saying that because they're blaming it on the risk. They're blaming it on capitalism, and this is why they're demonizing wealth accumulation, while simultaneously eliminating and distributing wealth creation to they, them, and those. In March 18, Carolyn Ellison was working at the quant trading firm Jane Street when one of her former colleagues approached her with a proposition that would change her life. Over coffee in California, Sam Bankman-Fried, a disalarmingly aloof crypto entrepreneur, pitched her about joining Alameda Research. So, see, Alameda Research existed before her, right? She was brought in as the CEO. It wasn't her brainchild. She didn't invent it. A new digital currency hedge fund he was working on that would exploit the differences in pricing for Bitcoin in different countries. It was the perfect arbitrage, he said. The exchange would help him toward his goal of earning to give billions to charity. He's just a philanthropic billionaire that just wants to give all of his money away to great causes like the next pandemic and global warming and every other fake virtue signal, international wars with Ukraine and stuff like that. I was like, wow, that sounds pretty exciting. I mean, I really love Jane Street, Ellison told Forbes in a previously unpublished interview in October 2021. It was really a hard decision to leave, but Ellison did leave, abandoning her cushy job for a gig at a crypto Icarus that came crashing down in spectacular fashion last week. Behind both Alameda and FTX was Bankman-Fried, a bloviating
It came crashing down and they got even more rich. Shocker.
Yeah, and of course they all walk with their money.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
A bloviating then billionaire founder who had founded the FTX 2 years after Alameda to build what he considered a modern cryptocurrency exchange. Another thing I want to point out here is that Alameda existed before FTX, and Bankman-Fried started Alameda.
Interesting.
When Bankman-Fried decided to step away from Alameda to focus full-time on the fast-growing FTX, Ellison, a quiet and quirky child of MIT economics professor, so now she was the daughter of an MIT, and just think DARPA and all that stuff, right? So she was a child of a DARPA professor, MIT professor. She took over as CEO. It's the same. It's the same talking points, y'all, as FTX cartoonishly imploded. How about how FTX cartoonishly inflated? It imploded as fast as it appeared out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Going from assets are fine tweets to bankruptcy in 4 days, attention turned to Alameda's $10 billion in assets and its alleged practice of funneling FTX. I mean, you can think of Madoff, all of these scammers, all of these Ponzi schemes. They all have huge ties. They all have huge ties to all the alphabets. They have huge ties to the regulatory agencies, and all of these different agencies and alphabets, they all get paid all the way throughout this process. That's how all this stuff happens.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Forbes is going to, Forbes is the biggest bunch of propaganda. And anybody that's reading Forbes to, about if they're looking for real information, I mean, this is a joke. And I tried to find this article in the Wayback Machine. It hasn't been posted yet because I didn't even want to push any traffic to Forbes.
Yeah.
It's a joke. As FTX cartoonishly imploded, going from assets are fine to, multiple crypto companies once seen as industry pillars are now on the verge of the same fate. Well, largely in part because they all interact with each other, and that's how you crash all these things, by tying them all together. And secondarily, it's because this was designed that way to force more regulation into crypto. And also, this is what's going to roll and push out central bank digital currency. And it's really easy to look back after the fact and just see how this was completely set up to do that. And it's happening. And I want to point out that Maxine Waters, who was totally in bed and pushing FTX, Maxine Waters and one of these other district of criminals that was heavily involved in pushing FTX are the two Democrats that are going to be ahead of this discovery committee. It's hilarious. There are photos of Maxine Waters with Sam Bankman-Fried, and I forget who the other guy is. Probably like usual suspect, like I can't remember right off the top of my head right now. While the daily headlines document years of alleged wrongdoing, the spotlight has broadened beyond Bankman-Fried to his inner circle and landed on Ellison, a rare female leader in the male-dominated industry.
There you go. They're going to spin it again, too.
Their whole goal was to maximize wealth. All right, we already read that. I love how they just repeat the same stuff. Yeah, it's to brainwash you.
Brainwash you, man.
In recent days, Ellison has faced a barrage of particularly nasty criticisms from crypto boosters who blame her for overseeing the downfall of Alameda. But amid the vitriol, she has found some defenders and an unlikely group of people who have celebrated the musings about race science and imperialism.
What?
On a blog she allegedly wrote in college. Some of her defenders, who call her Queen Caroline, are followers of Curtis Yarvin, a neo-reactionary political theorist and a far-right darling. Here's the spin. Many of the people who have flocked to Ellison's defense gather on Yerbit, a peer-to-peer platform created by Yarvin. One of her online supporters told Forbes they think Ellison was set up to be the fall person and claim that former co-CEO Sam Trabucco, who they derisively call Sam Tabasco, is behind Alameda's implosion. Trabucco didn't respond to the multiple requests for comment. I definitely think she's innocent, one said. I think Caroline can be saved. This was very much like, oh yeah, we don't really know what we're doing. Carolyn Ellison on joining Alameda. So they supposedly didn't know what they were doing for 2 years before they brought her on.
Hmm.
And everybody knew what they were doing. The daughter of the esteemed economist, her father, Glenn Ellison, is currently the head of economics at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and her mother, Sarah Fisher Ellison, is an economics department lecturer at the university. So, Sam Bankman-Fried, both of his parents are Stanford professors.
Mm.
Both of this girl's parents, Ellison's
Ellison.
parents, are both professors at MIT. This is like a deep state match made in heaven. She grew up outside of Boston in a household filled with numbers. While other kids were playing with Legos, Ellison was learning about Bayesian statistics before middle school.
Mm.
One year, rather than write her father a birthday card, she presented him with an economic study of stuffed animal prices at Toys R Us. We definitely got exposed to a lot of economics, Ellison so they're going to create her as like this super wizard nerd math wizard,
Yeah.
but then simultaneously say, it all crapped because of her, but it's not really her. This was all a setup, right? And it was all a setup. This was
Yeah.
designed to fail.
Yeah.
And these pawns in the failure are all handled by
And
handlers.
they didn't have this, FTX didn't have this big success and big flop because of her, though.
And this whole concept is all about like, well, the AI is going to be smarter than us, right? And they're doing the same thing here.
Yeah.
A natural mathematician, high school was a laboratory for Ellison's love for numbers, and she competed multiple times in the math prize for girls, the national contest that draws the country's brightest young minds. But her interests went far beyond math, and as a senior, she received an honorable mention in the linguistics Olympiad. She also loved books. Her parents read her the first Harry Potter book when she was 3.
Okay.
She said then she read the second one on her own at age 5. She has apparently described herself as a Ravenclaw. I'm not a Harry Potter person, so I have no idea what any of that's about. By the time Ellison arrived at Stanford, she's a math witch. She's going to make your money. She's an alchemist. She's going to make your gold turn into lead. By the time Ellison arrived at Stanford as a math major in 2012, her professional ambitions were taking shape, and while adjusting to college life, she took to Tumblr to publish her daily musings. The now deleted blog called World Optimization is unassigned, but a close associate confirmed that it was hers. In it, she wrote the sexual revolution was a mistake and that she believed women are better suited to being homemakers and rearing children than doing careers. Oh, they're trying to paint her as this alt-right, super right. She thinks women should be home raising children. I would agree with her on that.
Yeah.
But somehow she never did that. Amused about race science. Oh, and she's a eugenicist too.
Shocking.
In one post saying the genetic differences there are massive when it comes to Indian people from different provinces and castes, which has become a source of discrimination in Silicon Valley. And at the top of her list of cute boy things was controlling most major world governments. Ellison has since downplayed what she took away from college. Last year, when asked by Forbes about one thing she didn't learn there that would have helped her in the real world, she replied, pretty much everything. Taxes? And I would agree with that. Yeah, what do you take away from college? Nothing. It's a complete and total waste of time. But she did get recruited by the alphabet agencies to be the fall person for the next depression of crypto and the rollout of central bank digital currency. I'll leave the rest of this. The link is down below. We don't need to keep reading this. It's very interesting how this entire thing continues to be spun, and now it's going to be this alt-right thing, and Johnny Tabasco is the real alt-right guy, and she's an alt-right eugenicist, and she believes in all this conservative stuff. And so this is going to be this whole spin doctor, and the solution is going to be regulation, regulation, regulation. When regulation is usually to be completely and totally blamed for all of this fiscal irresponsibility. So Just wanted to jump on here real quick. Hope you all are having a great day. We might
Yeah.
be rolling out some more videos today.
Also, there's still the 20% off the new T-shirt that we designed last night
The
for
Biden and Fetterman shirt.
yeah,
So
20%
check
off.
that out at our merch store.
It's Vote Harder, all caps.
Vote Harder is the 20%
Yeah.
code to get the Biden Fetterman for prison 2024. And
Pretty awesome.
and I did find out that I guess Luke Rudowski has the same T-shirt or similar T-shirt.
But he made it like a week ago
Yes.
or something?
Something
Yeah,
like that.
and we didn't know.
And I don't know if it says for prison on it. But
Oh, okay.
unfortunately,
Ours says
I
for
didn't
prison.
steal it from him. I guess great minds think alike, so
Yeah.
there you go. And we should, Lord willing, we'll be going live tonight.
At 7.
We'll have in our daily form, our normal format, and we'll be able to interact with you all. We always appreciate that. We might even get into some theological topics there on the second half. We always enjoy that, and we just like hanging out with you all. And if our moderators are on there, oh, I don't want to block the wrong person. Oh, no, I didn't want to do. Oh, did I just block the wrong person?
No, you didn't.
Okay,
You
good.
didn't click it.
Okay. There we go. I got it.
Good.
All right, y'all. So yeah, so whoever's around tonight
Yeah.
at 7 Central,
Yeah, we're
we'll
gonna
see
try
you on
to
the
keep
live
on,
stream.
We're going to try to keep on cranking out the videos.
Trying to punch through the shadow ban, y'all.
Yeah.
So like, share, subscribe.
Yeah, we lost 35 subscribers yesterday.
They
or
continue
more.
to tank our subs.
Yeah. So we're losing like 100 subs a day. So
Redacted just came. Redacted just came back on.
they got kicked off for
Yeah,
about a week.
they were banned for a week. I'm curious to see how their shadow ban's going to how they'll bounce back from that. But they're completely like deep sixing us. Our
Oh.
backup channel is getting some traction.
Okay.
So maybe we'll
And we're over 1,000.
and
so
we're
we
over
can start-
1,000. We'll be able to stream
Yeah.
from the Texas Boys React. So if we do get vaporized, you will see us over there.
Yeah.
Texas Mom's channel keeps going. So we're excited about that. We appreciate all the support and the help. Make sure you're on our Rumble. We can stream from Rumble, and we have really good traction when we live stream from Rumble. So
Yeah.
we will be live streaming probably from our backup channel and Rumble. So we're just rolling with it, y'all. We're trying to figure it out. We're trying to, when you're injected into 1984, and you're trying to figure out the new normal, and when you're trying to figure out a postmodern, post-truth world, you just gotta, there are no fundamentals that you can, you can't learn from history when it's a whole new, brave new world. So that's what we're experiencing, this brave new world, and we're just trying stuff, and we'll see what sticks to the wall, and that's
Yeah.
what's going on. And when we're not on here, we are having fun and spending
Yeah.
time with family and friends and our community.
Helping out the community.
And we appreciate y'all.
Yeah.
And we'll see you on the next video.
All right. See y'all later.
See y'all.